Today we're discussing how to come up with the endings that we put on the end of verbs. The first thing that we do whenever we're discussing the endings that go into verbs, we have to decide what family that verb belongs to. In this case here, we have infinitives like amare and temera and conspicere and audire that tell us what family the verbs belong to. If the infinitive of a verb ends in are, it is part of the first conjugation. If it ends in an ere that has that long mark, it's part of the second conjugation. If it's an ere without a long mark, it's part of the third conjugation. And if it's ire with a long mark, it's part of the fourth conjugation. The reason that that is important is because the first two conjugations don't follow the same pattern as the third and fourth conjugations. The first two conjugations, all we're going to do is we're going to take off this re to end up with the base ama, and then we're just going to add the personal endings to it. Same thing with temera. We take off the re, that leaves us with just a tme, has a long mark over it, so that e is not going anywhere. That gives us this base time, and we add our personal ending t. That's all we do for the first two conjugations. Wipe off the re and add a personal ending. For the third and fourth conjugation, they follow the rule of four i's and a u. And what that means is I'm going to take the re off, and that leaves me with conspice. There is no long mark over that e, so it goes away. That leaves me with a base of conspic. That means that I'm going to use four i's and a u when adding the personal ending. You can see here that I used an I. Fourth conjugation follows the same pattern. We start off with audire. We take off that re. That leaves us with audi. Here's my base. It's still going to follow the four i's and a u pattern. And I'm going to show you how that works right now. As I look at these right here, if I look in the back of the book and I look up amo, it's going to say amo, amare, amawi, and amatus. It's going to give me all of those principal parts. The one I'm most concerned with right now is the infinitive, the amare. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take off that re, and that leaves me with ama. That tells me, let me draw this, part of the first conjugation. So I'm going to start with amo as my first person singular. And that means I love. My second person is where I'm going to start using that base of ama. ama, 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 and ama, followed by ama. The base for all of these is the same. And then I'm going to add the ending s, t, moose, tis, and unt. Those are the personal endings that help me establish who the subject of the sentence is. For amo, the subject of the sentence is I. For amas, the subject of the sentence will be you. For amat, I'm looking for a third person singular subject. If there isn't one, I use he, she, or it. For amamus, the subject of the sentence is we. For amatus, the subject of the sentence is you, plural, or you all. For amat, the subject of the sentence will be third person and plural. If there isn't one in the sentence, then I would use they. I'm going to do the same thing whenever I conjugate dokera. I'm going to wipe off the re, leave me with doke, and add st, moose, tis, unt. Now, when I get to the third conjugation, the dokera, again, I'm going to wipe off the re. And that leaves me with duke. There is no long mark over that e, so that e is going to go away. And that means whenever I start off with duco, because I looked in the back of the book and duco is my first person singular, right? Then ducera is my infinitive. Start off with ducera, wipe off the re, that leaves me with duke. So duke is going to be the base for all of the other forms, for the first, the second, the third person, the singular, and the plural. I told you guys that the third conjugation and the fourth conjugation follow a pattern of four i's, 1, 2, 3, 4 i's, and a u. After I put those four i's and a u on there, now I can put my personal endings of st, moose, tis, and unt to establish who the subject of that sentence is. That leaves me with duco, ducus, ducit, ducimus, ducitus, and ducant. I'm going to do the same thing with munio. Let's go ahead and do that down here. I'm going to start off with munire. I'm going to wipe off that re. That leaves me with muni. I'm going to start with the first person singular, which is munio. And then I'm going to use the base muni for the rest of them. Muni, 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 muni. Now that I stayed because there's a long mark over it. Something sitting on that I, it stays. We're following the rule of 4 I's and a U. 1 I already there, 2 I's already there, 3 I's already there, 4 I's already there. I'm not going to get rid of this I, I'm just going to use the U. After I've done that, then I can add my personal endings. S, T, moose, tis, and unt. And that's how I conjugate the verbs in the first, second, third, and fourth conjugations. Now, personal endings are very, very important. The personal endings that we have are O for the first person singular. Later on, we will use the letter M, but for right now, you just have to remember the letter O. Letter O is I. The I is the subject of that sentence. You have the letter S. S at the end of a verb means that you will be the subject of the sentence. So if I have amos, I would have you love. T is the next one. That is a third person singular. So I'm looking for a third person singular subject. It could be puer, it could be puella. If there's not a noun there and I have just amat without a noun, I would say he, she, or it loves. Because of that T, I have a third person singular. Moose is the next one, and moose equals we. If I have a ma moose, this moose right here tells me that we is the subject of the sentence. So we would translate a ma moose as we love. That's followed by TIS. TIS is you plural. If I have a matus, this TIS right here tells me that you all, or you plural, is the subject. So I have you all love. NT is third person and plural. If I have a mont, I'm looking for a plural noun in the sentence like pueri or puelli. If I don't have one of those, well, I use the word they. Now, when I'm going from Latin to English, I have to look at the verb. And in this one right here, we have aquamne ad velam portas. Just a quick reference, that aquamne is aquam plus ne, and ne is just an introduction to a yes or no question. So it's really aquam ad velam portas. The ne is just an addition to the first word of a sentence in order to create that yes or no question. So what I do here is I look at the verb, it is portas. If I look up here at this S, because that's what it ends in, S, that tells me that you is the subject of that sentence. So I have you carry, right? You carry. I have a preposition here, and I have an accusative. You carry what? You carry water, and then ad velam is to the villa. The ne tells me to make it into a yes or no question. So all I would say is, do you? Do you carry water to the villa? Yes or no? So I created a yes or no question. When I'm going the other way, when I'm going English into Latin, I have to find the subject of the sentence. Boys, do you all want to go home? Boys is an attention getter, so that's going to be a direct address, and we know that direct address is vocative case. Here's the main part of the sentence. Where's the subject? Do is not the subject. You all is the subject. Well, if I look up here to my personal endings, it looks like to me that TIS equals you all. that tells me that the verb that I use here has to end in TIS. So if I have a subject, a verb, and a direct object, all right, I'm going to use TIS at the end of the verb, which is want. Okay? So if I have it's actually going to be woltus, which is kind of an irregular form of wolo. Then I have a subject. Do I need to establish you all as a subject under subject? The answer is no. Because of the TIS right here, it's already understood. Okay, to go is an infinitive. We know that to go, we'll say to return. We know that it replaces a direct object. Where do you want to return to? We want to return home or to the villa. Wilam. And boys, we said was direct address, same as the nominative. Pueri. So here, I'm going to move the verb to the end of the sentence. I have pueri, redire, wilam, vultus. And that's how I go from English to Latin when I'm trying to figure out what ending to use for the verb. The TIS is created by the you all. Now, I'm going to let you hit pause right here, and I want you to go through all of these right here. Take, I don't know, 10 minutes to get as many of these as you can, and then I'm going to go over it with you. So hit pause, work these on your own sheet of paper, and I'll go over them. Pause now. Okay, let's go over some of these answers. What number and person am I dealing with you? Well, that's second person and singular. Let me make it a little smaller. You all is second person and plural. We is first person and plural. I is first person singular. He is third person singular. She is third person singular. And it is also third person and singular. As I translate the following words, I'm going to list their person and number. Didn't really do a good job of spacing those out. We have they excite. That is third person and plural. I have I walk. That is first person and singular. I have we see. That is first person and plural. You teach. That is second person and singular. I have he puts on. That's third person and singular. You all write. That is second person and plural. I get those answers by looking at the NT, the O, the moose, the S, the T, and the TIS on those words. Looking at the next one, I have intros. So second person singular, you enter. Current, third person plural, they run. Conspicuo, I see. That's first person singular. Spectatus, TIS, second person plural. You all watch. Coquimus in US means we, first person plural, we cook. Temet, third person and singular. So he, she, or it fears. Fill in the blanks with the appropriate endings. When I get this wos here, I'm going to establish it as the subject of that sentence. Now, wos equals you all, which is second person and plural. My second person plural ending is TIS. So my verb here has to have a TIS ending because you all is the subject. You all woke up many boys. Because it's many, it's going to be plural. So I have OS, masculine because of boys. And those are the endings that I would use for that sentence. Going to the next one, I have nos. Nos is we, first person and plural. We love lightas buelas, happy girls. We love happy girls. Cornelia Kelleriter cubicul what? Well, Cornelia is a subject. That means currit is third person and singular. Where does she run? Well, how about an accusative? She runs quickly to the room. Ego, as my subject, is first person singular. O is the ending that I use for the first person singular. I love you. To, wheel something, and then intra, I need an ending there. Tu equals you, and that means that it's second person and singular. Our second person singular ending is S. That's what's going to go on the end of my verb. To is established as a subject, so wheelon has to be an accusative. You could use wheelos, I guess. You enter the villas or you enter the villa. I would probably use singular here. Marcus and Sextus together create a third person and plural. So my verb has a third person plural ending. They're yelling at Cornelia to get up, so I'm going to use the vocative ending for Cornelia. Marcus and Sextus yell, Cornelia, get up. Finally, I'm going to fill in the chart with the personal endings that are needed. If I have first person and singular, then I would have an O. If I have first person and plural, I would have MUS. Second person singular is S. Second person plural is TIS. Third person singular is T. Third person plural is NT. And that is all for this page. What I want you to do now is I want you to take time to text me how you feel after this presentation. Do you feel great about translating verbs now? Good about translating verbs now? Better about translating verbs now? Worse about translating verbs now? Or do you still feel like a mouse in a bowl of milk? This is the number that you're going to text to, so that's like the phone number. You're going to text message. Your text message is going to be one of these. Thank you guys, and have a good weekend.